if you were to toss, if you're doing a lob and you had a big wick, that's actually like totally above board. It's more that most people with Zippos don't do that because then every time you light it, you use a disproportionately larger amount of the lighter fluid, right? Because then it's going to osmotically move its way back up, and then every time you light it, it's all going. So if you had a big wick, for whatever reason, for lighting, maybe it was for lighting like flambe or, bananas Foster, and you want to get that big flame so it doesn't have to be touched close to you or something, then sure. Like that actually I didn't have a problem with.
Now, what would happen? You ate my bird, and he throws the lighter, and
it bounces off the shelf.
You're right about gas. There's really no ventilation in this place. So if there's a gas leak, I guess there has to be a ventilation system in everyone's room because
especially in the kitchen.
That could be deadly. There has to be ventilation in there, right? And he's on the first level. So it makes sense that there be ventilation there, right?
Yeah, I think it's only one or two flights of stairs up to the surface from where he is.
Got it. So there could be some ventilation. All right, that makes me feel better.
Now, if no other room, that room. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some pipes running across the ceiling in various places in the room.
I'm a little curious, though. When he was choking on that gas, I don't know anything about this. Is the gas more dangerous than what would be the low increase in heat in the first, 30 seconds that he was working his way out? Like, I wonder, would you have passed out? Should he have held his breath instead? Would that have made more sense if he held his breath?
If he'd held his breath.
But then he couldn't talk to himself.
Right, we did want that. We wanted it. This is like the lion and so from this biblical
Daniel
verse.
facing the lion. We'll get to that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, well, if he was holding his breath, he still wants to get out of the oven because the shark is trying to get into the oven.
Right.
So I think the main threat to him wasn't either the gas or the heat. It's the giant shark trying to break its way through the door.
Fair assessment. Fair assessment.
Okay. How does he kill the shark if you killed my bird, throws the lighter goes out?
Or just bounces off the shark's nose.
Just bounces off the shark. How does Preacher win it from there?
Well, he's by the door, so I think at that point he would try and escape. And I don't know if he could. I think that might be the end of Preacher.
He could go climb up in that area that was dripping on his head, but that was probably too far away.
Yeah, well, he could potentially. I mean, the shark got down here somehow. He would go up the stairs the shark came down.
Oh,
potentially.
There was a little blip in both the previous scene to this, right, where he first goes into the kitchen area.
Yeah.
And then we see it just for I feel like a nanosecond as he's making his way to the end before he throws the lighter. But if you're looking at him, if you're facing him and behind him is the door to the kitchen, right?
Yep.
So we're in the kitchen looking away from the kitchen to him and the door. Off to the right, there was this alcove that had a fence door that said danger high voltage. And it was like you need a lock to open that to get to a control box or something. But there were a bunch of pipes and or electrical wires. I wonder if that went up. I wonder if that was a place that one could have gone. Because when he, in the previous scene, went into the oven when he saw the shark, my gut instinct was, wait, go over there and climb over that fence. Go up. Can you go up there? That was my thought, like a dumbwaiter corridor or something where you climb up the pipes.
Whoa. So yeah, that could have been another escape route.
Did you guys ever discuss that little nook, that little high voltage warning nook? Okay.
Jeez Louise, I need to re-explore this movie.
I'm looking at it now.
Do you see it? You see what I'm talking about? It's like 5 or 10 feet off to the right. It's fenced in.
Yeah. When he pauses, when he's got the frying pan, it's just
the water
just
in there is about 4.5 feet because I think LL Cool J is 6 or 6'1", and he looks like me when I'm in my 4.5 foot deep pool, a little hunched over. So I think he could easily have kind of squirreled his way over that fence door thing. Because there was a gap where he could have gotten over that, not very high above the water. I'm wondering what that even was. Maybe that was just something that was. Did they appropriate this room as a set, or did they build? Because if they built this set, someone's like, "Oh, we should put a flippity floppity flip over here." Someone said that at some point to put that there, or were they using some boiler room and dressing it up, and that just happened to be there? Like, yeah, leave that.
Oh, they definitely built the set that way they could dunk it down into the ground. They built the flippity floppity flip in there.
That little thing with the high voltage warning sign or whatever it was, and the fence door there.
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting decision.
is that too much if the lighter doesn't work and it just goes tss, and then he has to kill it with electricity? Is that too much? Should we let him have his hero moment? Or would the laugh of the tss...
No, or the pipes, there's a pipe near him, like hanging above him, and he jumps and rakes the lighter across it to create a Freddy Krueger spark.
Oh, yes. He's not done with the gas. He finds another way.
And so he gets a little spark, and then he tosses, and the spark lights the lighter, and then he tosses it.
Yeah, because if he kills this one with electricity, then Dr. Susie has to do something else with the other shark. Because you can't have two electrocution sharks deaths in one film, not in quick succession. So yeah, I like that. I like that, finding another way to make a spark. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, either way, it's perfect. I mean, he gets his hero line. And also, we were talking about this last week, John. We haven't released the episode yet. It'll be released when you're listening to this. But they were saying that LL Cool J Preacher, he's by himself for the majority of this film. And so he's basically just talking to himself and to a verbally abusive bird. I think he does a solid job doing that. It never feels inorganic. Sometimes when characters are talking, so I was watching the Friday the 13th reboot, remake, sequel, one of those. When that kid's talking to himself in the boathouse, you're like, oh, this doesn't feel organic. It's a weird comparison. But when Preacher does it, it's like he has a monologue with God. So it makes more sense that he has it. Like, well, how do you feel about his performance in this movie?
I like it. It makes me think of a lot of things. I'm going to say something. I don't think that this is what I think it should make other people think of, but it makes me think of an uncle of mine. And my uncle was in AA for 20 years, or he still is. He's been in AA for over 20 years, and he's not religious, but there's some prayer-like stuff involved in AA and
mantras.
And right, well, they're like prayers.
Yeah, it's a belief in a higher power.
Right. So to gain a grasp of these things they can't control or their urges. So either way, he's also a writer. He's been in movies. He was in Lurking Fear. If anyone's seen the 1994 H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, he was one of the goons in that. He was the guy who got broken in half when he was ripped through by the midsection, a small castle window, and like the mannequin, whatever that they used as the prop of his body, just snapped in half.
Oh, nice.
Through. It's almost like the end of Nightmare on Elm Street 1, where the mother getting yanked through the window in the door. He was in Trancers too, so he's been in stuff. He's been trying to write, and he talks to himself a little bit when he's thinking out ideas. Like he wakes up really early, and sometimes when he stays with me, I'll hear him in the living room. And also when he's dealing with his book, like his AA book, he gets up super early all the time. That's just he's like a painter, he's a contractor too, so he gets up really early. And he talks to himself a lot like that, but it's not like mumbling. It's purposeful. It doesn't just seem like someone who is thinking about something and they happen to say it out loud. It seems like, or if that ever was the case, it seems like it has become habitual that it is said out loud. It's a part of his ritual. And so now when he thinks about things, he usually reads his script notes that he's writing for a screenplay he's trying to get done to himself out loud as well, because he's thinking about the pacing at which someone will read the lines and not just thinking about how it should sound in his head. And so just with someone like him in my life, I don't find it that odd that someone is in the habit of talking to themselves. Like you got a chef, he's learning a lot of different recipes.
He's probably by himself a lot, right?
Like when you're doing a recipe, and I'm a terrible cook, right? I'm a terrible cook, but I will try and cook some ambitious things from time to time, and I'll nail it. And sometimes I'll say to myself, John, where'd you put this? And you say it out loud. It's just one of those things, these little things. And then you catch you did something at the wrong time, like, wait, no, that's right. Got to do this after this. And you almost say it out loud like you were reading your notes. So I think that this might be Preacher's thing. Preacher, I think we can extrapolate he might have been in AA, right? Wasn't it kind of like he started drinking, apologized for it? Yeah. So I think of like the prayers in the morning kind of thing. This might really be someone writing the character thinking of someone in their life like I have in my uncle, or LL Cool J, taking this character with his own script notes and reaching for someone like that in his life that he's seen. Or I'm totally wrong and I'm just hand waving.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I love it too. I think it feels organic. And yeah. I love him talking to himself in the oven, talking about Daniel in the lion's den and how the lions just didn't attack him. I appreciate that he says out loud the irony of it all. It just makes me happy. Like, whoever wrote that, right? Like, that's a cook is in a kitchen. He gets trapped in an oven by a shark. The shark turns the oven on, and the cook is like, "Oh my gosh, this is I love it. It's good writing.
It's classic
writing.
Rennie Harlin escalation, like dragging a death out.
Yes.
Isn't it? It's like if this had been how Preacher died, this would have been a Jim level of just like real dragging out of his death into the oven, cooking in the oven. Just great. But when he's in there, he talks about Daniel and the lions. I'm not a religious guy, but I just had to look this up and kind of look into it a bit. And okay. I don't think this was the correct chapter from the book of Daniel that Preacher should have talked about. Because in this chapter, Daniel gets a good position in high office, and he gains like, jealous rivals who trick the king to make a decree that anyone who prays to anybody other than the king can be fed to the lions. And so Daniel keeps praying to God because he's a devout Christian, etc., and gets thrown to the lions. But he survives because, in his words, an angel came down and closed the jaws of the lions because he was found to be blameless before God. And then Darius condemns the people who tricked him into being thrown into the lions, along with their wives and children as well. So the Bible ain't
many people
around.
are murdered.
Those angels have never seen many lions because they're still quite dangerous if you seal their jaws shut.
Yeah. Well, there is literally another chapter in the book of Daniel called the Fiery Furnace, in which people are in the inner furnace, which is heated up to far beyond its normal temperature, and somehow survive.
Oh yeah,
there's like that's chapter 3 called the Fiery Furnace, and I don't understand. Like the Daniel versus the lions is a more well-known story, I guess. There's one I'd heard of at least, but didn't know the story. But the Fiery Furnace is right there. It's like 3 chapters before. So,
but like I guess Daniel and the lions, he went in there. They didn't attack him. They were kind of pacified by the angels. He got thrown into this thing with a shark. He's in his own oven, and the shark is just not stopping. So he's like, "This isn't Daniel and the lions, right? Like this shark wants to eat me. So I got to make Daniel didn't have to fight his way out. I have to use this axe.
Be my own angel.
Yeah, exactly. LL Angel. Yeah. So he LL Cool Angel. No, never mind. But yeah, so he's, hacks his way up, goes through. So do you think that's what it could mean? Like, hey, this shark is not stopping. I am not getting this treatment, so I got to kill this thing.
Well, maybe the oven is, while it is a threat at the moment, the oven itself is what's sealing the jaws shut. But still, almost like the old adage of someone saying, "God, why didn't you give me a sign?" It's like, well, I sent you a this, a that, and the other, and
an oven and a Zippo. What did you want?
Like when lightning strikes and this other thing happens, and the person says, "Oh, well, if I pray, God will show me." It's like, well, God says, I gave you 3 signs and you didn't do anything, so you still have to act on your own. So he was protected from the jaws by the oven, but he still has to take responsibility for himself. And I don't know, I'm reaching here. I'm just trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I just feel like in the heat of the moment. Apologies.
The heat of the moment.
Preacher was just talking to him. He wanted to say something that he couldn't think of anything more relevant, and it was just a lion, a shark. They're both wild animals, both man-eaters, man-killers.
Yeah.
That's just where his mind went. He's grieving for his bird. He's running on adrenaline.
He had quite a love-hate relationship with that bird.
Yeah. It's a firm friendship. I love that LL's doing his own stunts as well. Like that's actually him diving off of the oven door into the flooded set.
And I love that about Harlan. He's like, everybody complains on set, not LL Cool J. He's like, he stood there at all times. Like, he was the only one that didn't complain on the set, and it makes me happy.
Well, he's also I'm not saying that there aren't people there who are in good shape, right? Thomas Jane is in good shape, right? But he's thin and he's athletic. But LL Cool J, they are like hiding LL Cool J's body in this.
Yeah.
He's under layers.
LL Cool J, if he took off his shirt and you just saw him in a tank top, you'd think he could box a shark to death in a movie.
Yeah. I've seen SWAT. Yeah.
So, but he's just such a machine. So I think that he enjoys the athleticism more, and he hadn't been in a lot of movies. This is probably just more fun for him. Everyone else, they might like the movie, but this is also a job. LL Cool J was still making music. I think he dropped the album with Phenomenon within a year of this, and I love that one, by the way.
He's making music in this film, for this film.
Let's see. Greatest of All GOAT came out maybe like 2000, 2001. Greatest of All Time. I know that because I went and bought it. I went to Circuit City and bought it.
But I think that LL taking this job, this is just fun.
Yeah.
It looks it. He has to hang out with a bird. Come on,
and then he gets to do these stunts. He's like, yeah, I want to go jump in the water.